There are moments in life that quietly or suddenly change everything. A diagnosis, a loss, a decision you didn't expect to make. And once that moment happens, the real question becomes, then what? Welcome to Change Happened, Then What? A storytelling podcast about the moments that shape us and the lives we build after them. Each episode brings you a real story told with honesty and care, where everything was questioned and where even then they chose to keep moving forward. This isn't an interview show. It's a place for real stories shared thoughtfully, sometimes messy, sometimes hopeful, but always human. I'm your host, Heather Holt, and I'm so glad you're here. Before we begin, I want to invite you into something I'm doing called the Changed Me Community Drawing. Stay tuned to the end of the episode to find out how you can enter into our monthly drawing for a super cozy Change Happened trucker hat or a super soft tee. Now, let's dive in. Today's story comes from someone I believe was born exactly the way he was meant to be, so he could help change the world. As I introduce you to Russell Van Brocklen, you're going to hear how from elementary school through his 20s, before he was ever officially diagnosed, he found ways to overcome his learning disability on his own terms. Driven by a deep love of learning and a determination to be more than what others believed he could be. Along the way, he broke barriers he didn't even realize he was breaking at the time. Today, he's doing that same work for others, teaching kids how to overcome their own learning challenges and helping families see what's possible when someone is supported, believed in, and given the right tools. Let me introduce you to Russell Van Brocklen.
I found out at the end of second grade that I was going to be pulled out of the normal classes with my friends and be put in special education. And my father tried to tell me this wasn't a punishment, but it really was. I wanted to learn, but I was tossed in with a bunch of people that either didn't care or they completely gave up. And I found that extraordinarily frustrating. Where it peaked was in fifth grade, and the normal kids were doing a project on the Pilgrims that I desperately wanted to do, but I couldn't because I was in special ed. It was particularly important to me because I had two relatives that were on the Mayflower. One was the religious leader, and the other one was the biggest malcontent. I just wanted out. So finally, in seventh grade, I had a neighbor who was on the school board. And I went over to him and I said, you got to get me out of here, at least for history. So he made it happen. He said, I can only do this once. I gave you one shot. So I go into eighth grade history, and the person teaching it is the football coach. And he just required us to think. He was real tough. I didn't study at all. I couldn't take notes. So I just remembered everything he said, and I got hundreds on all his tests. I actually got the history award for being the best history student out of my class of, I think it was 153. I then forced my way out into everything for high school. For the college prep in New York State at the time was called a Regents exam. Problem is, I had a first grade reading and writing level, but I found a way for short periods of time to zoom it up a lot, and then it would crash down again, which was not a fun process. And one of the more intriguing times, I was taking Spanish, and I wanted to take the Spanish Regents. I didn't know any Spanish. But yet all the practice tests, I kept passing with a D, and they were wondering what was going on. I didn't even try the verbal section. I just took a zero. So what I did is I would look at a question, and I'd look at the words in the question, and the one that matched the most words in the statement and in the question, I was right over 80% of the time. So then they found out my hack. It wouldn't let me take the exam because I knew no Spanish. When I finally fully got out of special ed and I go into, my first normal year starting with normal classes, we had to select somebody for student government. It was between me and one other girl named Beth. I voted for her because she was just really good at that stuff. She voted for me, and I won by one vote. I was like, okay, this is weird. Yeah, it was just weird because I don't know these kids very well. I was in special ed, but they always looked at me as somebody who just got stuff done. And then my junior year, I ran for class president, and I actually won, by a huge amount. I was just like, okay. I found out later I was really glad I didn't run for my senior class president. Every time there's a new reunion coming up, everybody looks at her. So it's like the curse of running reunions just because you were senior class president. Got through high school, picked up my Eagle Scout along the way. Then I went into college, just bounced over everywhere, trying all these different majors until I finally settled on political science that I wanted to do near the end of college.
Now, you can start to see how Russell took the things he loved, the subjects he was curious about, the skills he wanted to master, and figure out how to learn them in his own way. Along the way, he didn't just adapt to the system, he unknowingly taught the teachers how to teach him. Russell and I graduated just 1 year apart, and I can tell you firsthand what school was like back then. There weren't accommodations the way that there are now. There were kind teachers, yes, but many of them didn't know what to do with someone who learned differently. So, often kids were placed in special education classes simply because they didn't fit the mold. I wasn't in special ed, but I did end up in summer school more than once because reading and writing were hard for me too. That struggle was common. We just didn't have the language or the support for it yet. Russell also earned his Eagle Scout badge, and if you know anything about scouting, you know how big that is. It's one of those things we sometimes take for granted now, but the skills learned through scouting stay with you for life. The things I learned as a Girl Scout in the 80s, I still use them today. And my husband, well, there isn't a knot he can't tie, thanks to scouting. What stands out to me most about Russell, though, is his determination. No matter how hard learning has been for him, he keeps showing up. He goes to college without a rigid plan, driven by curiosity and a refusal to stop learning on his own terms. We'll be right back after a message from our sponsor. Today's Change Happen story is sponsored by Pure Energy Apothecary. Owner Don Lancaster and I are friends, and honestly, that matters. It's how I know how much care goes into what she makes. Dawn doesn't create products just to sell them. She makes them because she uses them and cares about how they support real people like you. Her magnesium butter has become a staple in my daily life when my muscles feel tired, when my legs won't settle at night, or when my nervous system feels like it's been running on overdrive, which, let's be honest, a lot of us can relate to. Magnesium supports muscle relaxation, helps with sleep, and eases that wired but tired feeling. This butter is creamy and absorbs right into the skin. No heaviness, no overpowering scent, just comfort. For me, it's not just relief. It's a small ritual that tells my body it's safe to slow down. If you're craving that kind of support, visit pureenergyvt.com and use code PURECHANGE to get your 20% off. Now, back to Russell's story.
Then when I went to college, I remember I tried to be an engineer because from 65 to 95, I had an uncle who graduated literally at the top of his class from Clarkson University, and he did all the cool stuff from 65 to 95. I was in college at the time when he was nearing retirement, and I would call up, and he would spend hours trying to get me through calculus-based physics, which I got a D+, the proudest grade I ever got. But I noticed it was just a lot nicer. What I remember is I was sitting in Warren Lit class, and Warren Literature, he was using comics from the time period. And there was a girl in my class who was just completely confused. I said, "Oh, it's not that hard at all. Just da 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 da." And the next thing I know, I'm running a study group on war and literature, explaining all the connections better than what they say the professor did. And they're like, "How do you know all this?" I'm like, "What's hard about it?" Well, I did well with that in economics, but I did not do well in engineering. So I eventually went out, tried a whole bunch of different majors until I wound up on neuroscience, and I found really that to be my calling after my issue with the assembly internship program. It's changed everything for me.
When Russell got to college, school finally felt different. It wasn't perfect, but it was bearable. For the first time, he began to settle into neuroscience and into understanding the way his own brain actually worked. You can hear it in his voice. It's almost like he was born carrying knowledge he didn't yet know how to unlock. Even before his official dyslexia diagnosis, he never let the challenge stop him. He kept moving, kept learning, and kept pushing forward. Then came what he calls his issue with the assembly internship program. Russell didn't just want to study government, he wanted to experience it firsthand. So he applied to the New York State Assembly Internship Program, a serious, immersive opportunity for college students interested in how laws are made. When Russell first showed up, he said, "Here's my neuropsych evaluation. I read and write at a first grade level." The program director nearly shut the whole thing down. Instead, leadership did something radical. They chose to make it work. They placed Russell into a meaningful staff role, surrounded him with support, and let him do real work, even though the institution later refused to fully acknowledge his accomplishments on paper. Russell and I talk about this part of his story at length, and I was honestly blown away by what he shared, not just by what happened, but by how clearly he understood it. Listening to him describe navigating systems that weren't built for him and still finding ways to belong, to contribute, and to learn, I kept thinking, most people probably would have stopped here. But that moment didn't stop Russell. It just reshaped him. And from there, he kept breaking barriers he didn't even realize he was breaking at the time, quietly reshaping what it looks like to thrive in a space that was never designed for people who learn differently, which eventually led him to a new question. If learning had always been this hard, and if he had come this far without real support, where could he finally learn how to read better? That question is where the next chapter of Russell's story begins.
So I went back to my professors and I asked, where can I go to learn to read and write so I can show other dyslexics? And they said, well, if you like politics, and the answer is obvious, law school, where you read and write more than anybody. So I go to law school. Yeah. I literally, just so everybody has an understanding of just how much fun this is, the people that administer the SAT type test for law school, the LSAT, would not accommodate me. So I scored in the 0 percentile. But the graduate records exam had an analytical section, which was the same as 3/4 of that test, and they did accommodate me. And I scored in the 99th percentile. So to see how much fun this is, I go to areas that deal with the GRE, they think that I'm a genius for those grad programs. The LSAT people think I'm an idiot. You know, the law schools think I'm an idiot. Same thing. So I go in, it's the second day of contracts. Professor Warner, who's a dyslexic professor, called on me. He's been a dyslexic professor for 30 years, longer than I've been alive. And what they do is they use the Socratic method. So they'll ask you questions that no first week law student knows, and you can't answer it. They'll keep asking to embarrass you on purpose until you adjust. That didn't happen to me.
Did you hear him correctly? He said, that didn't happen to me. In law school, Russell was taught using the Socratic method, a teaching style where professors don't lecture. Instead, they use rapid-fire questions, pushing students to think critically, reason out loud, and defend their ideas in real time. The professor asked questions meant to push the whole class to its edge. Most students wrestled with them, unsure where to land. But Russell, he didn't freeze. Instead, he and the professor went back and forth, Question, answer, challenge, response, debating the material in real time. It wasn't about having the right answer. It was about reasoning, connection, and clarity. And listening to him describe it, something clicked for me. The very thing that once made learning harder for Russell also had trained his brain to think differently, to slow down, to analyze, and to see patterns others hadn't needed to notice. So, in that room, in that moment, he wasn't behind at all. He was right where he needed to be.
Everything for the first time in my mind focused, and I could just see where he was going, moves ahead. He could see where I was going, moves ahead. We're going back and forth like crazy, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. At the end, he kind of threw up his hands. Russell, you couldn't be any more correct. I got to move on to the next case in the interest of time. He's never heard of anything like that before. He's never experienced it before. I learned to read within a month. I learned to write within a couple of years. Then I go back to the New York State Senate and I say, I want you to fund my dyslexia research project, which they don't do. It was run by traditional Republicans at the time. And by traditional Republicans, I mean get them better, faster, cheaper. They want to start in the school districts and have it come up from there. Get one of the school districts to want it. And I have to also get approval from the New York State Education Department, and what they wanted was senior professors out in Buffalo to support it, and the SUNY Research Foundation.
As Russell moves through college, he begins to understand something crucial. He didn't just teach himself how to learn. He discovered why learning finally started to work. At the foundation of Russell's work, both then and now, is passion. Not passion as a hobby or an interest, but passion as an entry point. Because it turns out it doesn't matter what the passion is. What matters is that the brain engages differently when learning is connected to something meaningful. Back then, Russell's passion was learning itself. He wanted answers. He wanted to understand how his brain worked and why reading and writing had always felt so hard. That drive became the doorway. And once he realized that connection, passion to engagement, engagement to progress, he started asking bigger questions. If this worked for me, could it work for other kids too? That question, it pushed him to research. He began studying how the brain learns, both dyslexic and non-dyslexic, so he could build a process that didn't depend on luck or expectation. He wanted something that could be taught, repeated, and supported. So he took that idea to the New York State, asking the government to support his research, not because he needed validation, but because he wanted to make sure no child had to go through what he did just to learn. That belief, that passion, is the foundation, not the subject. It's still at the core of Russell's work today. Before we continue, I want to share something close to my heart. Dear Sweet One Lullabies. It's a custom lullaby made just for your child. Using their name, birth date, and whether they were born under the sun or moon, each story becomes a gentle audio keepsake filled with warmth and wonder, perfect for bedtime or just because. You can find Dear Sweet One on Etsy or at changehappenedpodcast.com. Now, back to Russell's story.
They funded the study for multi-years. What we did is I wanted to help students like me and just saw that these were highly intelligent, highly motivated high school juniors and seniors with middle school writing skills. One class period a day for the school year, they ended up scoring in the 30th to 70th percentile of entering graduate students based on the Graduate Records Exam Analytical Writing Assessment. They all went on to college. They all graduated. GPAs of 2.5 to 3.6. Cost New York State taxpayers less than $900 a kid. We were literally 3 times as successful as the best dyslexic 2-year college to transfer kids to 4-year schools for less than 1% of the cost. So that's how I got started.
I asked Russell a little more about his research, and this is what he shared with me. He starts by referencing a book that played a major role in shaping his thinking, Overcoming Dyslexia by Sally Shaywitz. In the second edition, there is a powerful set of brain scans, one showing a dyslexic brain and one showing a non-dyslexic brain. What those images reveal is simple but profound. The dyslexic brain isn't broken, it just processes information in a different area and in a different order. Russell uses that visual to help people understand something critical. Learning to read isn't about fixing a brain. It's about helping the information move from one part of the brain to another in a way that allows it to function more efficiently. And this becomes another foundation of Russell's work today. Instead of focusing on what dyslexic learners can't do, he teaches how to reroute information, how to build pathways that allow the brain to access language, meaning, and structure in a way that finally makes sense. For Russell, this wasn't a theory. It was confirmation, proof that what he had been individually doing all along had a scientific explanation and that it could be taught.
So when you're looking at how to fix this, what we need to do is forget about the back part of the brain and move it to the front part of the brain. Mm-hmm. How we do that, according to Yale, is word analysis followed by articulation.
Okay, in case you're unfamiliar with what word analysis followed by articulation is, it is a way of teaching reading that focuses on how words are physically formed in the mouth, not just how they look on the page. Instead of memorizing or guessing, learners break words down into individual speech sounds and pay attention to what the lips, tongue, and jaw are doing to make each sound. That physical awareness helps the brain connect sound, movement, and meaning. In simple terms, it turns reading into something you can feel, not just see. And that's especially powerful for a dyslexic learner.
So here's what we would do if you were teaching yourself back then. You're going to get on a laptop computer with a real keyboard, not an iPad, not an iPhone, certainly not handwriting. You're going to type this on a real keyboard. You're going to type hero plus sign. What are we talking about? All right. And then the kid's going to copy that. That's okay. Professor James Collins, Strategies for Struggling Writers, Default Writing Strategy of Copying. So, Heather, okay. So now we got hero plus sign. What are we talking about? We're going to replace the hero with you. You're the hero. So now we got Heather plus sign. What are we talking about?
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Then we're going to have you have a list of 10 things you really, really like and 10 things you really, really don't like. And we're going to start off with the first thing that you really, really like, which is playing an instrument.
Russell starts by asking me about my own passion when I was 10 or 11 years old. From there, he gently walks me through how that passion connects to the way he helps people overcome dyslexia today. As he explains it, I start thinking back to my own time in school and how challenging that was for me. Reading, writing, it never came easy. But then I think about when I was in college, when I was studying audio engineering. Suddenly, none of it felt hard. I graduated at the top of my class, and sitting there with Russell, it finally clicked in my brain. It wasn't that I suddenly became smarter. It was that my passion helped me move the information to the part of my brain where it could finally make sense. I was learning through something that mattered to me.
Read what you wrote out loud. Heather liked playing an instrument. And then I'd ask Heather, does that sound generally correct? And your answer is going to be no. And I'm going to say, fix it. Heather likes playing an instrument.
That realization is at the heart of Russell's work today. It's not about forcing people through a system that doesn't fit them. It's about using passion as a bridge, helping learning land where it's supposed to. And this isn't just a theory, it's a proven method that works. But there was something else sitting with me. I needed to ask Russell about his dad, the man who put him into special education all those years ago. I wondered how he feels about it now, seeing the work Russell does today.
My father passed away 5 years ago. My mother's still alive. They were just proud and confused.
You know, Russell could have stopped so many times along the way. He could have believed the labels. He could have walked away. But instead, he kept pushing forward. And like I said at the very beginning of the story, I truly believe Russell was born for this work. So I asked him one final question. What makes you smile today?
It's seeing the kids that I work with go from what they like to call learning disabled to learning enabled. To see them just doing really well and not only working with their gen ed peers, but in a lot of cases reading and writing more at a higher level.
I guess that answer didn't surprise me at all. I can only imagine the joy that comes from watching students succeed, especially when you've made it your life's mission to change the world one dyslexic learner at a time. Before we wrapped up, I did ask Russell to leave you with some words of wisdom, and this is what he said.
People are under the misunderstanding that dyslexia is a reading problem. It's a symptom. Once properly trained, dyslexics can read better than most gen ed adults. Focus on what the kid's really interested in. Teach them from the specific to the general. Do word analysis followed by articulation.
Russell truly is a wealth of knowledge in the world of dyslexia. He's done incredible work to make his methods accessible, practical, and hopeful. If you or someone you love struggles with dyslexia, I encourage you to reach out to Russell. All of his links are in the show notes and on changehappenedpodcast.com. I wish I had learned some of these techniques earlier in life, but what I know now and what this conversation reminded me is that I learned to thrive when I leaned into my passion. And when I drift away from that, that's when I struggle more than I should. So before I let you go, there's one more thing I want to leave you with. This wasn't just a conversation about dyslexia. It's a conversation about how we all learn and what happens when we're allowed to learn through something that matters to us. You don't have to be dyslexic for this to apply. We all have a place where learning feels easier, where time moves differently, where things start to click. That place is usually tied to our passion. So, wherever you are today, whether you're leaning into something new, feeling stuck, or wondering why something feels harder than it should, I encourage you to find that thing that lights you up. Follow it, learn through it, and let it guide you. Because when learning connects to meaning, the brain responds, and sometimes that one shift is enough to change everything. Change doesn't end the story. It's often where the next chapter begins. If something in today's episode stayed with you, a moment, a sentence, a feeling, I'd love to hear about it. And if someone came to mind while you were listening, consider sharing this episode with them. You're welcome to head to changehappenedpodcast.com to tell us what stayed with you from today's episode or any interview episode you listened to as part of the What Changed Me community drawing. Each time you share, you'll be entered into a Change Happened drawing. You can enter more than once. Every entry is also automatically included into our quarterly drawing for a special Change Happened Super Prize, whether you've won before or not, because these stories don't end where the episode does. They keep moving forward in what we carry with us and in who we pass them on to. Change Happened, Then What? Is written, edited, and produced by me, Heather Holt, with the loyal background support from my two sidekicks, Waylon and Dalton. Until next time, keep smiling and maybe let your dog inspire your next big idea.
There's always a reason to always choose joy. There's something deeper that the world can't destroy. Smile when you think you can't. Smile, get up and dance. Smile, there's a bigger plan. The storm only lasts for a while. So smile.